Hey guys, welcome to Coaster Source. I'm Ben, one of the team members, and today I will be talking about the top 10 roller coasters at Six Flags Over Georgia. Six Flags Over Georgia is all of the Coaster Source team members' home park, and it was one of the original Six Flags parks opening in 1967. So let's get started on their top 10 roller coasters. Coming in at number 10 is the Dahlonega Mine Train. Now, this ride is under the thrill ride section of Six Flags Over Georgia, but I wouldn't really necessarily consider it a thrill ride. It's more of a family ride to me. But this ride, it's kind of short, it's not really long, it kind of just winds itself around in some unexciting helixes. But there is a pretty cool drop towards the end, which is a little bit intense, but overall, this coaster is not that intense. So I don't know if I'd really consider it a thrill ride. So that's why I'm putting Dahlonega Mine Train at number 10. But it is a pretty solid ride. It was the very first roller coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia. Coming in at number 9 is the Georgia Cyclone. Now, I've only ridden this coaster once before, and I got a pretty bad ride on it. It was really bad. But I did hear that it was because of the seat I was sitting in. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. So it does give some good rides and some bad rides. It is a din wooden coaster, so um they aren't that great. They have their good days and their bad days. But the day I rode this, it was pretty bad. Well, this coaster, it opened in the 1990s. I'm not exactly sure what year, and it was one of the newer ones. But honestly, it looks really old as a lot of the paint is chipping off, and believe it or not, it honestly looks like the whole thing's just gonna fall apart because of how really shaky it is. Now, I don't really like this ride, but I don't hate it. But I am putting Georgia Cyclone in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is the Great American Scream Machine. This was one of the original wooden coasters at Six Flags Over Georgia, and this coaster is known for its airtime throughout the ride. This is one of the airtime woodies. Now, like the Georgia Cyclone, this gives its good rides and its bad rides, and it also depends on the seat you're sitting in. But I do find this one to look a lot better and be a lot less rough than the Georgia Cyclone, so that's why this one is going ahead of the Georgia Cyclone. Coming in at number 7 is Blue Hawk, which is a Vekoma sit-down coaster that features 5 inversions. Now, this ride used to formerly be named the Ninja and was painted red, and it was one of the worst coasters ever made by Vekoma because it was incredibly rough and would bash your head around. Now, with Blue Hawk, they revamped from Ninja to Blue Hawk in the season of 2016, and I gotta say, Blue Hawk is actually really good for a Vekoma coaster. I mean, it's not glossy smooth, but it does have the new Vekoma vest restraints, which gives you a much more comfortable ride than other Vekomas. And it's honestly pretty fun. The inversions are pretty cool, but I gotta say, though, the double corkscrew is still pretty rough. But anyways, Blue Hawk will be taking the number 7 spot. Coming in at number 6 is the Georgia Scorcher, one of the best stand-up coasters made by B&M. Now, with like most other B&M stand-up coasters, you can get good rides and bad rides on them. Bad rides on this ride are actually not as bad as they would be on other stand-up coasters, and a good ride on this, like I had last time I went to Six Flags Over Georgia, it was really good. It's one of the best stand-up coasters I have ever ridden, and that's why I will be putting the Georgia Scorcher in the number 6 spot. Coming in at number 5 is the Mindbender, one of the best coasters that Schwarzkopf has made. This ride has been running at Six Flags Over Georgia for over 30 years, and it is still a kick butt ride. It is amazing. It features 2 vertical loops, which are awesome. It is intense, and it is very fun. Coming in at number 4 is Superman Ultimate Flight, which is a cloned B&M flying coaster at a few other Six Flags parks. But what's interesting about this one is how close it comes to the ground and it really interacts with the terrain. it is a very fun ride, and the main element of it, of course, is the pretzel loop, which pulls some amazing G-forces. Coming in at number 3 is Batman the Ride, which is another cloned coaster at other Six Flags parks, but this one is a B&M invert. Now, it would be quite an argument here depending on whether Superman Ultimate Flight or Batman the Ride is a better ride, and personally I think Batman the Ride is a better ride because it is more intense and compact, and it also is the loudest ride at the park. You can probably hear it from all of Gotham City and a bit of the USA portion of the park. Coming in at number 2 is Daredevil Dive, which is a Gerslar Eurofighter and is one of the best ones in the United States. It features a beyond vertical drop, a vertical lift, and several inversions. And what's interesting about this one is instead of an overhead restraint, this one has a lap bar, and it also has hydraulic lap bars instead of the click kind ones. I don't know exactly what they're called, but they're like the ones that most other coasters would have where they come down by clicks, but this one is hydraulic. Also, overall, Daredevil Dive is very compact, intense, and fun. And then finally, for number 1 is Goliath, the B&M Hypercoaster. Now, while this hypercoaster is not as big or better as other B&M hypers out there, this one does remain to be a really good one because of its around the park maneuver, which is about 4,800 feet of track, and it has a pretty intense helix section. And also, if you're riding this in the back row, you'll actually possibly gray out on the helix section of this ride because it is pretty intense. Overall, Goliath is very fun, and I could ride it for days. And then that is why I am putting this coaster at number 1. And that wraps up this video for the top 10 rides at Six Flags over Georgia. If you have been to this park or are wanting to go to this park, I hope you found this video useful. And if you ever feel like you should come down to Six Flags over Georgia, come on down to Austell, Georgia, which is a little bit to the west of Atlanta. And come on down to Six Flags over Georgia. You'll find it pretty great. They have some great rides here. I definitely recommend all of them, even though some may not be as good as other ones. I still would recommend you try all of them. They would go great for your coaster count as an enthusiast. And anyways, I am Ben, a team member of Coaster Source. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Coaster Source. And peace out, guys.